This is your daily dose of all things royal.
Yesterday, The Sun on Sunday and The Mail on Sunday published details of a secret email that sent shockwaves through the royal family and the world.
The email is damning. I think Prince Andrew is playing the public for fools.
Unshakable evidence the Duke of York lied to the British public.
Was that visit, December of 2010, the only time you saw him after he was convicted?
Yes.
Did you see him or speak to him again?
No.
About severing ties with billionaire paedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
What this shows is that he brazenly lied when he appeared on Newsnight.
We're talking about him looking at the camera and lying to the nation and to the world about his relationship with a pedophile.
Revealing worrying details of an intimate relationship.
The email says, "I'm just as concerned for you, don't worry about me. It would seem that we're in this together."
But most condemning of all is the date.
This email was sent on February the 28th in 2011.
That's just one day after the image was published of Prince Andrew with his arm wrapped around Virginia Giuffre.
Casting serious doubts on his version of events.
Is it possible that you met Virginia Roberts, dined with her, danced with her in Tramp, had sex with her on another date?
No.
Is this the final nail in the coffin for Prince Andrew?
The consequences for him and for the wider royal family will be like nothing they've ever seen before.
I think this time could be the end for the House of York in public life.
Yesterday, the 12th of October, best-selling Sunday papers published a bombshell story about Prince Andrew, which has rocked the monarchy to its core.
I don't think there's any way back for Andrew. He's been caught in a lie.
A sensational email, broadcast now for the first time, shows that Prince Andrew was in touch with paedophile Jeffrey Epstein after he insisted he had cut all contact with him. In the now infamous Newsnight interview.
Was that visit, December of 2010, the only time you saw him after he was convicted?
Yes.
Did you see him or speak to him again? So no contact?
No contact.
When he was serving time, there was no call, no letter, nothing there?
No. But to this day, I never had any contact with him from that day forward, from that day forward.
The date of the email is particularly important. Andrew was quite clear that he had cut off contact with Jeffrey Epstein. After one final visit to New York, he could not have been clearer. His relationship with Epstein was at an end.
This devastating email proves he contacted Epstein in February 2011. Just 2 months after Prince Andrew saw Epstein on a 4-day visit in December 2010. A trip he insisted he made in order to sever ties with the convicted paedophile.
When you look back now at the Newsnight interview with Emily Maitlis, it's a pantomime.
He said then that he had explicitly gone over to New York to break up the friendship with Jeffrey Epstein and that they had ceased parting a day after those photographs were taken in December. This proves that they were in touch far longer than that. This is February of the following year, and he lied about it.
The email was exposed by world-renowned interviewer and documentary filmmaker Daphne Barak, who's had exclusive interviews with leading figures, including Nelson Mandela and Donald Trump.
A couple of days ago, I asked my sources high up, and then we got it. What shocked me is that he was signing HRH, the Duke of York, and KG, which is standing for Night Guard. So, I mean, all the titles.
So how do we know this email is genuine? We never reveal our sources, but what I can say is this is impeccably placed, and we have great faith that this is true.
The message, obtained from a source known only to Barak, shows an alarming level of camaraderie with sex abuser Epstein.
The email says, "I'm just as concerned for you, "Don't worry about me. It would seem that we're in this together and we'll have to rise above it. Keep in close touch and we'll play some more soon." It's signed A. HRH, the Duke of York, KG. This is a man that a year earlier, before they'd been in touch in New York, was in prison for his horrible crimes.
We're talking about the King brother, and we're talking about something very severe, his relationship with a pedophile.
The language contained in the email is particularly condemning.
The letter says, "I'm concerned for you."
Basically saying to him, astonishingly, that we are in this together. You're in what together?
He's almost saying, we're in the same boat now, which is frankly astonishing.
At first, I was really surprised that he would express himself so openly, brazenly, you might say.
For me, "we're in this together" is the most shocking line, followed closely by "we'll play some more soon." That's incredible on two counts. One, the language itself, knowing what we know about Jeffrey Epstein and the connotations around that, is deeply concerning. Secondly, it shows that he didn't really have any intention of ending the friendship.
His choice of words becomes even more significant given the day the email was sent.
The 28th of February, when it was sent, is just one day after my newspaper, the Mail on Sunday, published an extraordinary photograph in which Andrew has his arm around a woman called Virginia Roberts.
To say at that point in time, "we're in this together," is fairly astonishing. It has all sorts of connotations, but certainly it means reputationally that they are in this scandal together, which is shocking on its own.
I have no idea exactly why Andrew chose to write to Jeffrey Epstein on that particular day, but it's hard not to join the dots and think that perhaps the photograph is what he's referring to when he tells his friend Jeffrey that they're in this together. In other words, they're both in a world of trouble.
This explosive email follows another humiliating message, released to The Sun on Sunday and the Mail on Sunday, which showed his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson had also been in contact with the former financier.
Sarah Ferguson is at the centre of the latest Epstein scandal.
The Mail on Sunday obtained leaked emails from 2011 written by the Duchess of York to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
The email came weeks after Sarah Ferguson, who was married to Prince Andrew, had publicly distanced herself from Epstein.
She appears to grovel to the convicted paedophile.
Fergie's reputation has been damaged hugely by her association with Epstein, by her blind faith in her husband, and now by these latest emails, which seems to show that she didn't even understand the severity of the situation and continued to want to be friends with Jeffrey Epstein.
These emails come in addition to a reported stash of correspondence between the disgraced prince and the sex offender, contained in the notorious Epstein files. A cache of seized documents and emails relating to the financier who took his own life in 2019 while awaiting trial for further offences, including trafficking minors and sexual assault.
His New York City mansion, raided by the FBI. Investigators seen wearing masks as they carried out boxes of evidence.
In a just unsealed indictment, Epstein faces charges of sex trafficking and conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of minor victims in New York and Florida.
He was on first-name basis with heads of banks, prime ministers, presidents, you name it, he knew them. Anybody who's on any of those lists, who's in any of the Epstein files, is going to be besmirched.
These infamous files, along with the latest shocking revelations, show that the link between the prince and Epstein refuses to die.
You promised to release any information regarding Prince Andrew should it cross your desk.
Yes, anything we get on that we will release.
It's not just extremely damaging for him, but it can damage the entire royal family.
As Andrew and the firm face reputational oblivion, is this the end for the disgraced Duke?
It's a real example of where hubris lands you. Hubris and greed.
This time could be the end for the House of York in public life.
the Duke of York has thrown the monarchy into crisis after a bombshell email released yesterday in leading papers The Sun on Sunday and the Mail on Sunday, exposing that he lied about ending his friendship with convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. In his Newsnight interview, Prince Andrew insisted he cut all ties with the convicted sex trafficker in December 2010.
Was that visit, December of 2010, the only time you saw him after he was convicted?
Yes.
Did you see him or speak to him again?
No, that was it.
The email reveals that Andrew was in touch with Epstein as late as 2011.
It reads, "Don't worry about me, I'm just concerned for you." In this email, Prince Andrew is certainly showing sympathy for a convicted paedophile, which is frankly astonishing.
But it's the specific date of the email which is proving to be the most troubling.
This email comes just one day after the publication of the image of him with Virginia Giuffre.
Why would he be so concerned as to write to Jeffrey Epstein just one day later?
He said, "We're in this together." He's almost saying, we're in the same boat now. And then, of course, you have the payoff, let's play some more soon. Everyone is aware of Jeffrey Epstein. He's notorious, so it has awful connotations. The language is extraordinary.
The email and its implications cast serious doubts over many of the prince's claims, including his relationship with Virginia Roberts. So, where did it all start to unravel for the Duke of York? As a young adult, returning Falklands War pilot, Prince Andrew quickly gained a reputation as the royal playboy and the country's most eligible bachelor. But in 1986, he marries Sarah Ferguson.
The 1980s, a decade that I think summed them both up perfectly with the whole greed is good ethos.
Fergie was the worst person to restrain Andrew's wayward behaviour. It was also that Andrew was the worst person to restrain Fergie's.
In the 1990s, following the breakdown of his marriage to Fergie, Andrew indulges in the high society circuit in pursuit of power, influence, and money.
He was always drawn to rich people and he wanted to live their lifestyle. And the only way to live that lifestyle was to get in with a lot of these people.
And Andrew begins to spend time with a woman who has significant connections into that world.
Ghislaine Maxwell was the favourite daughter of the Czech businessman Robert Maxwell. She was intelligent, she was sophisticated, she was well connected.
Andrew clearly identified her as someone who could be a beneficiary to him.
But at this time, Ghislaine is harbouring a dark secret.
What we now know is that back in the early 90s, about 94, that Ghislaine Maxwell was securing, sourcing, finding young women, underage women, for Jeffrey Epstein.
She wasn't just Epstein's girlfriend. She was recruiting those girls, and then she was easing them into Epstein's life, and then she was making them feel that they were safe, only for Epstein to then sexually abuse them.
Soon, Andrew is introduced to her enigmatic billionaire boyfriend, Jeffrey Epstein. This meeting set in motion a series of events that will change the course of Andrew's life forever, and shake the very foundations of the British monarchy.
One of the acquaintances who knew both parties referred to the pairing of Andrew and Epstein as akin to a rattlesnake in an aquarium with a mouse, Andrew being the mouse.
Not only was Jeffrey Epstein incredibly rich, he was also incredibly well connected to powerful people. And of course, it was a symbiotic relationship. Jeffrey Epstein could have doors open to him by Prince Andrew that no one else could do.
In the 1990s, if you imagine a sort of ménage à trois between Ghislaine, Epstein and Andrew, the relationship was one that grew in intensity, but also it grew in importance to Andrew.
The friendship blossoms, and in 1999, Epstein truly lays out the royal treatment for the Duke.
He flew out to Epstein's island in the Caribbean.
Little St. James in the US Virgin Islands is Jeffrey Epstein's private island, which became known as Paedophile Island for obviously what was going on there.
And of course, this private jet got the nickname Lolita Express.
The Lolita Express comes from the Lolita, the novel by Vladimir Nabokov, which is about the relationship between an older man and a young girl, a sexual relationship. And the reason it was called the Lolita Express was just the sheer number of young girls, I mean teenage girls, that were on these flights.
He then gets sucked into Epstein's world, and he had, I suppose, numerous points along that track where he could have thought, actually, there's something here is not quite right. But he didn't. He continued that friendship.
So close are the trio that in the summer of 1999, the Duke extends an invitation to Epstein and Maxwell to attend a party at the Queen's private residence, Balmoral.
The real kind of coveted invitation is to a personal party of the monarch. And Balmoral was the Queen's private home. It's not a palace like Buckingham Palace, not owned by the state. It's her private home.
An astonishing photo, released to the British press, shows Epstein and Maxwell relaxing on the Queen's beloved Scottish estate.
Let's just take a minute to remind ourselves who they are. Ghislaine Maxwell, currently serving time in an American prison for procuring underage girls for the world's most notorious paedophile, now dead, Jeffrey Epstein. These two individuals are invited into the inner sanctuary of the royal family. He was weaponising his royal status to feather his own nest. It stinks.
May 2000, and the prince reportedly takes yet another flight on Epstein's private jet, the Lolita Express. This time to Epstein's Palm Beach residence, the place Ghislaine Maxwell is recruiting girls as young as 14 to be sexually trafficked by the billionaire.
So we have this extraordinary episode in May 2000 when Andrew goes to Palm Beach under the auspices of the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, of which he's a sort of figurehead, and goes and stays with Epstein, someone who was a sex trafficker.
The idea that Andrew was on an NSPCC trip, on a taxpayer-funded trip in his role as a patron in a children's charity, and then hopped onto the Lolita Express, off on a holiday with Epstein, is actually shocking when you think about it. It's amazing what he thought he could get away with.
But it isn't just private air travel the Duke indulges in. Newly released files reveal Andrew reportedly received bespoke services during his trip to Epstein's Palm Beach mansion.
On the ledger, it says he paid $200 for a massage and yoga. You know, what was that?
We know from the deposition and the evidence given by many of the women that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked that they were formally and officially employed to give massages, but that was many times a euphemism for something a lot more than a massage.
One of the most recent allegations against Prince Andrew from the Epstein files via the US government is that he also received a foot massage whilst on the plane. And certainly from other affidavits that people have given about Prince Andrew, he did used to like having massages.
Jeffrey Epstein isn't the only millionaire Prince Andrew is cozying up to. While in Florida, the Duke hobnobs with the now US President Donald Trump, photographed here with Epstein and Maxwell at the Mar-a-Lago resort.
Trump has been very keen to distance himself not only from Epstein but also from Prince Andrew. There's plenty of photographic evidence putting the two of them together. The two shared an interest in golf, which they often talked about.
It is here a blonde-haired, blue-eyed teenager, Virginia Roberts, begins her new job. Just weeks later, she's recruited by Ghislaine Maxwell. Roberts will go on to bring about the fall of the House of York.
Virginia Roberts was working as an assistant in the spa at Mar-a-Lago at the time. She was 16 and she wanted to become a masseuse. And Ghislaine basically approached her and said, oh, well, if you want to be a masseuse, I know where you can take a job.
Ghislaine Maxwell became a madam, if you like, a woman who procured young women for Epstein's sexual gratification.
So the idea that she became a pimp for him essentially was because she, like Andrew, wanted to please Epstein. And the way of pleasing Epstein that she could see was finding underage girls who'd be exactly the kind of girls that Epstein would have liked to have had sex with.
And it was Prince Andrew's visits to Jeffrey Epstein's Palm Beach mansion that came into question during the now infamous Newsnight interview.
Epstein's housekeeper, also in a Florida court legal deposition, said that you visited the Palm Beach residence around 4 times a year. You got a daily massage.
4 times a year?
That was what he said in a Florida court legal deposition.
No.
I'm just wondering, when you look back now, is there a chance that those massages might have been the services of someone who was being sexually exploited or trafficked by Epstein?
No. I don't think, I mean, no, definitely not. Definitely not. And I definitely did not visit his Palm Beach house 3 or 4 times a year. Absolutely not.
How many times would you say you visited?
In total, probably 4 times. In total, throughout the time that I knew him.
Emily put it to him on the BBC that, you know, the housekeeper says he got massages those times. You know, it's in a deposition, which is sworn, it's under oath. Andrew says that's not true.
We know that Andrew loves sex. We know that he is greedy. We know that he's easily led, and many people say he's not overly endowed in the brain department. So I think it's not altogether surprising that Andrew ended up being a bit besotted with the life that both Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein could provide him with.
As Maxwell continues to target underage girls for Epstein, Prince Andrew welcomes them to a weekend at Sandringham.
Epstein and Ghislaine had been guests at Sandringham, which Andrew famously and sort of casually described in the Newsnight interview as just a straightforward shooting weekend. I mean, it also happened to be Ghislaine Maxwell's birthday that weekend.
He was your guest as well. In 2000, Epstein was a guest at Windsor Castle and at Sandringham. He was brought right into the heart of the royal family at your invitation.
But certainly at my invitation, not at the royal family's invitation. But remember that it was his girlfriend that was the key element in this. He was the, as it were, +1 to some extent in that aspect.
Am I right in thinking you threw a birthday party for Epstein's girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, at Sandringham?
No, it was a shooting weekend.
A shooting weekend?
Just a straightforward shooting weekend.
The phrase that Andrew used, that it was a simple shooting weekend, sums up how detached and out of touch he was.
It's just astonishing to think somebody as moral as the Queen was in the vicinity of women like Ghislaine Maxwell.
2001 marks the year that changes Andrew's life forever, as his partying with Epstein intensifies, and the prince is drawn deeper into his world. It's alleged that he goes to a private members club, Tramp, with Maxwell and Epstein. Allegedly, it's here that he is introduced to 17-year-old Virginia Roberts, now known as Virginia Giuffre.
And she described the scene where he was dancing crazily and sweating.
And this guy was sweating all over me, like his sweat was like, it was raining basically everywhere, and I was just like, what?
It is reported that the pair then go to Maxwell's Belgravia home, where the infamous photo is allegedly taken. In her interview with Panorama, Virginia makes a devastating claim.
In the car, Ghislaine tells me that I have to do for Andrew what I do for Jeffrey. And that made me sick. It didn't last very long, the whole entire procedure. It was disgusting. He wasn't mean or anything, but he got up and he said thanks and walked out, and I sat there in bed just horrified and ashamed and felt dirty, and I had to get up and grab a shower.
Virginia Giuffre accused Prince Andrew of sexually abusing her. At the time, she was aged approximately 17.
Prince Andrew denies the allegation when later questioned by Emily Maitlis.
July of this year, Epstein was arrested on charges of sex trafficking and abusing dozens of underage girls. One of Epstein's accusers, Virginia Roberts, has made allegations against you. She says she met you in 2001. She says she dined with you, danced with you, at Tramp nightclub in London. She went on to have sex with you in a house in Belgravia belonging to Ghislaine Maxwell, your friend. Your response?
I have no recollection of ever meeting this lady. None whatsoever.
Yesterday's astonishing revelation now casts doubt on the Prince's public claims about the scandal.
When he spoke to The Nation in his Newsnight interview in 2019, he fundamentally wasn't telling the truth. Obviously, that raises questions about everything else he said in that interview. What can the public believe?
In a shocking story broken over the weekend in popular newspapers, The Mail on Sunday and The Sun on Sunday, an email from Prince Andrew to Jeffrey Epstein has surfaced. The Prince writes, "We'll play some more soon, and it would seem we are in this together." The date it was sent is for many as damning as its contents.
This was sent just one day after the image was published of Prince Andrew with his arm wrapped around Virginia Giuffre.
The photo he says he has no memory of, and which could have been doctored. The email signed A, HRH Duke of York, has exposed his claim he cut contact as a lie.
He's sitting there on Newsnight, right? And he says to Emily, no, I had any connection with him afterwards. Of course, nothing, no emails, no nothing. And boom.
Why? Why would you want to keep in close touch with this man?
The bombshell email has thrown the Prince and the royals into crisis once again.
I'm concerned for you. Don't worry about me.
We are in this together. You're in what together?
The sordid saga was brewing back in 2001. As his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein is growing, Andrew is given a new role after retiring from the Navy. Special Business Envoy for the United Kingdom.
He's wheeling and dealing for the British state as this businessman, but with no track record in business.
In his new role, Ghislaine Maxwell proves useful, and his friendship with her wealthy financier partner Jeffrey Epstein intensifies.
He was doing his trade envoy job and he thought Epstein could help him there. He was flying around on jets, staying in wonderful places, ranches in Mexico and islands in the Caribbean.
And guess what? That unfettered access and credibility leads him into horribly dark spaces.
BBC journalist Emily Maitlis later presses Prince Andrew about his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Do you regret the whole friendship with Epstein?
Now, still not, and the reason being is that the people that I met and the opportunities that I was given to learn, either by him or because of him, were actually very useful.
Epstein's crimes are first exposed in this disturbing 911 call to the Palm Beach Police Department from the stepmother of a 14-year-old.
And they start off by giving this gentleman a massage, and he pays them if he likes them and he thinks that they're pretty enough, he keeps them around to do other things. Okay.
Now police monitor Epstein's mansion and rifle through the rubbish and phone records. A year later, they have enough evidence to charge him with soliciting and prostitution of a minor.
2 victims were questioned during the proceedings, including one who alleged Epstein, then in his 50s, molested her when she was just 14. The other said she was raped by Epstein the day before her 18th birthday.
For a long time, Epstein glided through whatever the allegations were thrown at him sort of imperviously.
2 months after the warrant is issued for Epstein's arrest, Prince Andrew throws a lavish 18th birthday bash for Princess Beatrice. The guest list raises more than a few eyebrows.
Prince Andrew invited Harvey Weinstein, Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. They were given access to the very top of the UK monarchy.
There's quite a grotesque picture of these characters enjoying the entertainment at Andrew's lavish home. The background to all that at the time was that Epstein himself was very much under investigation, although Weinstein at that time was not.
Why? Why does he want to be seen in this top British old-moneyed family? Because it helps Epstein launder his filthy reputation.
But across the Atlantic, evidence is mounting. By 2007, the FBI has dozens of young women ready to testify against Epstein. The indictment spells out how they were allegedly recruited, trafficked, and abused.
60 counts on the indictment against Epstein. It looks like the sky's going to fall in on him and the whole kind of house of cards is going to come tumbling down.
The case reaches court a year later, but the multimillionaire has the best lawyers money can buy.
Epstein's legal team includes the former Clinton prosecutor, Kenneth Starr, who sources say has come to South Florida several times to try to make a deal.
And then for some reason, he struck this highly criticized plea deal with the district attorney.
He pleaded guilty in open court. He agreed to serve a total of 18 months in the Palm Beach detention facility, 12 for felony solicitation of prostitutes, and an additional 6 for procuring persons under 18 for prostitution.
It mildly skimmed the surface of the true horror of what Epstein was doing.
Here he is now, a registered sex offender, and yet Andrew is still apparently friends with him.
Billionaire investor Jeffrey Epstein, though he's just spent the last year in a Palm Beach, Florida prison for approaching teenage girls for sex, he's now a free man after 6 months were shaved off of his sentence. Why?
The US justice system comes under fire as Jeffrey Epstein walks free. As the news spreads, further offenses are reported.
Now more victims are coming forward saying he was let go too soon. Nearly a dozen women are suing him, including one who claims Epstein turned her into a sex slave.
Just 5 months after Epstein's house arrest ends, Prince Andrew spends 4 days with him at his New York townhouse. The men are photographed together as recreated in the Netflix drama Scoop. BBC Newsnight journalist Emily Maitlis quizzes Prince Andrew on the New York visit.
We had an opportunity to go for a walk in the park, and that was the conversation, coincidentally, that was photographed, which was when I said to him, I said, look, because of what has happened, I don't think it is appropriate that we should remain in contact.
Most people would end it either by letter, by email, or by telephone call. But Prince Andrew decides to fly 3,000 miles, stay in his house, somewhere in the region of 4 nights, attend a dinner party that's thrown in his honour.
Even if you flew out there, surely you would actively want to not stay overnight with Epstein in the very house where Epstein abused young girls.
This was a question many people were asking when the photo became public. Emily Maitlis put it to him in the Newsnight interview.
He threw a party to celebrate his release, and you were invited as the guest of honour.
Oh, in 2010? There certainly wasn't a party to celebrate his release in December, because it was a small dinner party. There were only 8 or 10 of us, I think, at the dinner. If there was a party, then I'd know nothing about that.
You were invited to that dinner as a guest of honour?
Well, I was there, so there was a dinner. I don't think it was quite as you might put it, but yeah, okay, I was there at a dinner, yeah.
Was that visit, December of 2010, the only time you saw him after he was convicted?
Yes.
Did you see him or speak to him again?
No, that was that. Funny enough, 2010 was it. That was it.
But the email published yesterday has exposed this as a lie.
Andrew claims to have gone December 2010 to say goodbye to Epstein. He continued to have contact with Epstein after 2010, and actually so did Sarah Ferguson.
Yesterday, extraordinary allegations about Prince Andrew's continued relationship with convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein erupted in the British press.
So he says all contact is cut off, yet a matter of weeks later, here he is writing in almost intimate terms.
The email is the smoking gun that could spell the end for the disgraced prince. His fate was sealed back in 2011, when Andrew's connection to Epstein was laid bare for all to see. February the 27th, and the nation awakes to a bombshell revelation on the front page of the Mail on Sunday. For the first time, Andrew is shown with his arm around 17-year-old Virginia Giuffre.
The photograph of herself and Ghislaine Maxwell and Prince Andrew at the top of a flight of stairs on a landing in the house that was owned by Ghislaine Maxwell.
Years later, in the probing BBC Newsnight interview, Andrew claims the photograph could have been doctored.
From the investigations that we've done, you can't prove whether or not that photograph is faked or not, because it is a photograph of a photograph of a photograph.
But yesterday, popular newspapers The Sun on Sunday and the Mail on Sunday broke the news that Andrew's email stating, "It would seem we are in this together," was sent just one day after the notorious photo was released to the world by the Mail on Sunday.
It's hard not to join the dots and think that perhaps the photograph is what he's referring to when he tells his friend Jeffrey that they're in this together. In other words, they're both in a world of trouble.
She provided a photo of the two of you together.
Yes.
Your arm was around her waist.
Yes.
You've seen the photo.
I've seen the photograph.
How do you explain that?
I can't. Because I have absolutely no memory of that photograph ever being taken.
Do you recognise yourself in the photo?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult not to recognise yourself.
The picture has just been published. He makes no mention in the email of it to Jeffrey Epstein, and this is so fresh. It's just one day after it was published. You would think if that was a concern of him, it would have been raised, especially seeing as they were, as he quotes, in this together. So definitely there are questions to answer.
But Andrew wasn't the only member of the House of York who was in contact with Epstein in 2011.
I think the interesting thing is everyone got obsessed with Virginia Giuffre and Andrew, and people actually left Fergie to go under the radar.
Since the breakdown of her marriage to the Duke in 1992, Sarah Ferguson found herself in a financially precarious position.
What happens when you have spiralling debt? You start owing people. And what do you do when you start owing people? You start behaving in undignified ways in order to make sure that you are just staying above the line.
May 23rd, 2010. As Fergie's money troubles grow, a tabloid newspaper publishes a secretly filmed sting operation in a London hotel.
£500,000 when you can, to me. Open doors.
Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
Is that deal?
Yeah.
That was effectively Fergie saying to an undercover journalist, $500,000 gets you access to my husband.
The fake shake scandal disgraces the former royal. By the close of 2010, with debts spiralling, the Duchess turns to her convicted sex offender friend, Jeffrey Epstein. In December that year, unbeknownst to the public, Fergie accepts £15,000 from the convicted Wall Street mogul to reportedly settle a payment to a former assistant. This gift will have dire consequences for her already tarnished reputation. On the 22nd of January, Sarah Ferguson emails Epstein, thanking him for his financial help. This correspondence, which only came to light recently, reveals the shocking extent of Fergie's gratitude.
To anyone reading it, it was pretty clear she was on her knees thanking him.
The email read, "How can I thank you enough? You are a friend indeed." Sometimes the heart speaks better than the words. You have my heart. With lots of love, dear Jeffrey.
The fact that it's been written to this convicted sex offender, you start to think, what are you doing? Why have you got such poor judgment? Why are you writing to him like this?
While this email would remain hidden for many years, the news of Epstein's £15,000 gift is picked up by the British press, and Fergie's secret is exposed. In an interview with the Evening Standard, the Duchess goes into full damage limitation mode.
She came out with a public statement in which she disassociated herself from him and said that she was appalled by his actions.
She said, I abhor paedophilia. Well, yes, we all do. It still doesn't really explain why you were taking money off this man.
The Duchess very publicly turns her back on her long-term friend, Jeffrey Epstein, stating clearly that she would have nothing ever to do with him ever again. But just 1 month after publicly denouncing Epstein, she contacts him. The sensational story was recently exposed by renowned journalist Daphne Barak. Published in The Sun on Sunday and The Mail on Sunday.
April 26th, we found a letter from her to him. When we saw that, I had tears in my eyes. I didn't believe it. I mean, I read it again and again and again. It was beyond shocking to see that she lied to the public.
I know you feel hellaciously let down by me. I must humbly apologise to you and your heart for that.
The words like my heart and also hellaciously, I mean, and supreme. I mean, this is her language.
The email came weeks after Sarah Ferguson, who was married to Prince Andrew, had publicly distanced herself from Epstein.
She appears to grovel to the convicted paedophile.
This is beyond astonishing that you're sending, frankly, a kissing email to a pedophile.
What this exposes is that she's a liar. She says, I will never have contact with that man again. I abhor paedophilia. And the next month, referring to him as a supreme friend, declaring almost her undying love for him.
She said, I would never use the P word. But, you know, she did know he was a paedophile. He was sleeping with 16, 17-year-olds. So the idea she didn't think he was a paedophile is for the birds.
By contacting Epstein, the Duchess now finds herself in a very difficult position. A spokesperson for the Duchess said the email was sent after Epstein had threatened to sue her for defamation. But questions still remain.
One of the reasons that we think she emailed him such a grovelling apology was because she wanted to keep Epstein on side for money.
This was a desperate woman. Epstein was her best cash cow, one of her last remaining cash cows at the time, and she just had to keep milking it. So she was saying whatever she could to keep that relationship going.
She will sacrifice any shred of integrity. She will toss away that reputation as soon as there's a whiff of her losing access to pots of Epstein money.
Further details in the email show Fergie not only grovelling to Epstein, but also attempting to justify why she hung him out to dry.
I was bedridden with fear. I was paralysed. I was advised in no uncertain terms to have nothing to do with you and to not speak or email you. And if I did, I would cause more problems to you, the Duke, and myself.
If she didn't distance herself from Jeffrey Epstein, she said that she was potentially going to lose some of her publishing deals, and she had made considerable money from some of her publishing deals.
On the line was not only her role as a children's author. 2011 also saw the release of her memoir, Finding Sarah, and with it a lucrative deal for a reality show on the Oprah Winfrey Network, in which the Duchess of York documents her efforts to rebuild her life.
Hello. Sarah. Hi, Oprah. Hey, I'm calling to welcome you to the United States.
This Oprah Winfrey deal, which involved a TV series, Finding Sarah, was going to come with considerable money.
I was very, very, very frightened.
I just sort of thought, my goodness.
This is the real beginning of a new journey.
It was the threat that Oprah Winfrey and the team around her would pull the plug on that deal.
Finding Sarah. I can't wait till you find her.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Bye.
So, in one ways, she was throwing one friend under the bus, Jeffrey Epstein, in order to save her own skin, but then try to get back in with Jeffrey Epstein privately so that he was still on side. It looked like her decisions were entirely financially driven.
The recent publication of Fergie's private apology to Epstein has had dire consequences.
The Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, who's been facing criticism over alleged reports that she sent gushing messages just weeks after publicly disowning Epstein in April 2011.
Some of these charities were involved with children. What could be worse than an email sucking up to a convicted sex offender, paedophile?
Who would possibly want to tie themselves to this man? It's just reputational suicide. What this correspondence with Epstein exposes is that she's a liar.
It's summer 2011, and Fergie's association with Jeffrey Epstein has deeply damaged her reputation. And for Andrew, at the time trade ambassador for the UK, things started to unravel fast.
The question remains, why on earth Prince Andrew, once his friend had been convicted, himself didn't sever all links? The knock-on effect for Andrew was it began to undermine his position as a global trade ambassador on behalf of the United Kingdom. It was thought, to start with, that he did a pretty good job.
How are you? Nice to see you. Are you well?
In later years, there was a suspicion that he was using the position he had and the access he had, possibly to enhance his own status and his own position.
The beleaguered prince faces mounting pressure. By July, it's the end of the runway for Air Miles Andy.
Prince Andrew, are you going to resign, Prince Andrew? Are you an embarrassment, sir?
The Duke is forced to step down.
It is actually very, very rare for there to be accountability within the monarchy because it's not built into the system. But this was an example of a job that Andrew had that existed outside of the parameters of monarchy, and therefore there was a mechanism of accountability and the government got rid of him.
But when he gave up that job, he was still only in early middle age, a man without a future. Well, you know, what was he going to do? Knowing people like Jeffrey Epstein had opened his eyes to great riches, to great possibilities, and he clearly wanted to take advantage of all that he'd learned.
By the end of 2014, the intense public glare surrounding Andrew and his relationship with Epstein has subsided. But in January 2015, it's reported that Andrew is named in a US lawsuit linked to Epstein, dragging him back into the eye of the storm.
Britain's Prince Andrew has been named in an ongoing lawsuit in America and accused of having sex with a minor during meetings organised by former Wall Street wizard Jeffrey Epstein.
Andrew's name appears in various depositions from Virginia Giuffre.
These astonishing revelations threaten to destroy Andrew's already heavily compromised reputation.
Up to that point, no one had really realised the extent of Andrew's involvement with Epstein.
We knew Andrew was willing to be friends with an unsavoury character. What we hadn't seen black and white accusations of until this point was that Andrew was involved himself, that he was being accused of being a perpetrator. That obviously made the story and the accusations and Andrew's position much more serious.
Bombshell revelations in flagship papers The Mail on Sunday and Sun on Sunday yesterday leave the monarchy reeling. A leaked email from Prince Andrew to paedophile Jeffrey Epstein shows he lied to the public about ending their relationship in 2010. Worse still, he tells the convicted paedophile, "I am just as concerned for you." The email is sent the day after the picture of Andrew with Virginia Giuffre is published, which makes the next phrase, "It would seem we are in this together," particularly compromising, as she later claimed that he sexually assaulted her the night that picture was taken. Andrew maintains the photograph could have been doctored and consistently denies ever meeting Virginia. She accused him of sexually assaulting her when she was 17.
He makes no mention in the email of it being a forgery or doctored in any sort of way. The omission of that itself is certainly going to raise questions.
So the day after the photo becomes public, what does Andrew think he and Epstein are in together? 4 years later, Epstein faces sickening federal charges.
Billionaire Jeffrey Epstein has been arrested on new sex trafficking charges. A source tells CBS 4 federal agents took him into custody yesterday at a New Jersey airport after he was indicted on 1 count of sex trafficking and 1 count of conspiracy to commit sex trafficking.
Federal authorities are able to seize his hard drive. They're able to find compromising material, film, and other things that he's collected.
The federal investigation that follows exposes his connections to some of the most powerful men on the planet, including the Queen's second son.
He was a great user of people. He collected people, prime ministers, presidents, and yes, princes.
But 5 weeks after his arrest,
this is an NBC News special report.
Shocking news from New York suggests the truth might stay buried forever.
That disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein is dead. Epstein took his own life while he was behind bars here in New York City, facing charges of sex trafficking.
Epstein's death made everything 10 times worse for Andrew. It was a constant reminder of Andrew's ill judgment.
The British public want answers. In a desperate attempt to stop speculation, Prince Andrew agrees to a meeting with BBC's Newsnight. Not everyone was on board, as Daphne Barak exclusively reveals.
Sarah told me that she called him begging him not to do the BBC interview. Why he decided to do it? He felt he could handle it.
In the interview, Emily Maitlis interrogates Andrew about his friend Epstein. When she asks how he feels about the convicted paedophile, his response clearly baffles her.
Do I regret the fact that he has quite obviously conducted himself in a manner unbecoming? Yes.
Unbecoming? He was a sex offender.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm being polite, in the sense that he was a sex offender.
She almost wanted to sort of grab him by the shoulders and shake him. As the viewer of that Newsnight, I felt exactly the same.
Andrew is a laughingstock, lampooned on comedy shows like The Russell Howard Hour.
Who describes a sex offender as unbecoming? What do you think of Hitler? Rascal. ISIS, scallywags.
And the very first thing Prince Andrew should have said was, "I'm awfully sorry for what happened to all these young women who got caught up in Jeffrey Epstein's depraved world," but he didn't.
Almost 2 weeks later, an interview that Virginia Giuffre has given to Panorama is shown, and the horrific reality of his alleged actions becomes clear.
It was a wicked time in my life. It was a really scary time in my life. I had just been abused by a member of a royal family. I couldn't comprehend how on the highest levels of the government and powerful people were allowing this to happen, not only allowing it to happen, but participating in it.
Virginia Giuffre came across as a young woman who had suffered grievously at the hands of a depraved man and whose life chances had been irreparably damaged because of it. She was not the pretty young girl who we remember from that snapshot with Andrew. I think there was an enormous amount of public sympathy. I think the public believed her. She was a compelling witness in the way that Prince Andrew was not.
Footage of Andrew at Epstein's New York house, revealed by the Mail on Sunday, suggested to some people that his claim he had no idea what had been going on was questionable.
He kind of waves coquettishly at one of the girls. For me, it just shows he was completely familiar with that New York apartment.
Andrew assures the public that he cut off all contact with Epstein after the visit in 2010, the last time they were seen in public. A claim that will come back to haunt him. But it's too little, too late. Fallout from the interview is quick and brutal.
It was a catastrophic error. Andrew, in a space of 24 to 48 hours, became something of an international pariah. He could no longer represent his mother on any public stage because the public would not accept what he said.
Daphne Barak reveals here for the first time that according to those closest to him, the saga did irreparable damage to his mental health.
The shock that he felt from Grace after Newsnight, that the Queen herself said, okay, enough is enough, was a big shock for him. I mean, I understand from Sarah that he never recovered mentally.
Andrew issues a statement that he is stepping back. He is stripped of his military titles.
He was still a member of the family, but he had to be not seen, not heard. Now, Andrew really resisted that. I remember one of Charles's aides telling me the press release that went out, Andrew rewrote it. Still, he couldn't realise the extent of his downfall.
The FBI close in on Epstein's associates, arresting Ghislaine Maxwell in 2020. They still want to question Andrew, but he is not cooperating.
He wouldn't make himself available even as a material witness to either the FBI or the lawyers.
But Virginia is about to take the fight to him.
Virginia filed a civil case against Andrew, accompanied with a letter inviting Andrew, accused him of having sex with her 3 times when she was 17.
There was no comment from Buckingham Palace. But developments in New York, 4 months later, must give them cause for concern.
The jury has reached a verdict in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. This just coming in as we speak. Maxwell guilty of sex trafficking charges.
Andrew is now associated with 2 convicted child abusers. 2 months later, he settles out of court with Virginia Giuffre. Where the money comes from is never confirmed.
There's a lot of speculation that his mother, the late Queen, had paid for some of this.
The settlement means Andrew will never have to face Virginia in court.
Andrew could have fought it, but he chose not to, and in doing so, he stepped back from the opportunity to try to prove his innocence.
Later that year, there is tragic news from the palace.
We have some very important news. Buckingham Palace has just announced that Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has died.
Prince Andrew was often described as Queen Elizabeth's favourite son. She clearly had a soft spot for him, and he made sure everyone knew that. There's no question that Prince Andrew lost his biggest offender.
Rumours fly that King Charles will not give his brother the same protection that their mother had given.
A year or two later, Emily Maitlis made a podcast in which she said that she'd heard that King Charles had not been displeased.
I was told this kind of odd line by somebody close to Prince Charles about a month after, taken aside and told that HRH was not unhappy with the interview, which could have meant that it served a purpose, for an incoming monarch who wanted all that noise to go away and actually wanted to reset the relationship between the monarchy and the British public.
Shocking headlines over the weekend may hand King Charles some more ammunition and could change the face of the monarchy forever.
I first heard about the email and understood its context on Wednesday, October the 8th, and I couldn't believe he had been so brazen and so stupid. This makes it clear that he is a liar, and he signed the lie at the bottom. HRH KG. He's a Knight of the Garter. For his family, this is a very serious matter because I think they will feel obliged to act.
Breaking news yesterday, published in top newspapers, the Mail on Sunday and the Sun on Sunday, rocked the palace. An explosive email surfaced, suggesting Prince Andrew deceived the public about when he cut ties with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
This email was sent one day after the now infamous image of him with his arm around Virginia Giuffre was published, which is frankly astonishing.
The email says, "I'm concerned for you. Don't worry about me.
We're in this together." My reading of it was almost brothers in arms.
The email is very disturbing. What do you mean we'll play more? Could you elaborate?
Earlier this year, the Epstein case takes a sinister turn.
Virginia Giuffre, who accused Prince Andrew of sexual assault, has died. Her family say that she took her own life at her home in Australia. She was 41.
Her life had essentially been ruined by her association with a predatory paedophile sex offender in Jeffrey Epstein.
She then took her own life. It should and it will forever haunt Prince Andrew.
The death of Virginia brings Prince Andrew and his relationship with disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein back into sharp focus. It could not be worse timing for the prince. He spent the last few years trying to work his way back into the royal fold.
Since the accession of King Charles, he allowed Andrew and Fergie to walk with the royal family to church. And walking to church was almost like a sign that he was back. Andrew and Fergie were back.
Not everyone is happy about the Yorks' return to public life. Eyebrows are raised at the Duchess of Kent's funeral when Prince Andrew takes centre stage.
You could tell that Prince William was furious. He really didn't want to be seen with his uncle.
He can see the reputational damage that Andrew is doing to the monarchy.
Just yesterday, the attention shifted back to Prince Andrew with explosive new claims.
What the Mail on Sunday and the Sun on Sunday newspapers have done is established that it was Andrew for sure who sent the email, and he even signed them, HRH and KG, which I believe means Knight of the Garter.
I would say it shows a fundamental lack of respect for the monarchy in a way. And he is using that leverage in an email to a convicted paedophile.
Could the most damaging line of the email, "It would seem we are in this together," spell the end for Prince Andrew?
You would think he's surely having advice from advisors saying, "Don't touch this man with a barge pole." And yet he is aligning himself to him The language is extraordinary.
There is that feeling, we've all had it for quite a while, can't get any worse for the Yorks. Well, guess what?
The revelations exposed in the email sent by the Duke of York have engulfed the royal family in yet more shame.
The question is, does the poison and the toxicity spread into the monarchy itself?
Virginia has got her memoirs coming out, and knowing what we know about this story, it promises that there'll be more to come.
Prince Andrew is now a disgraced royal and a public pariah. According to leading international interviewer and journalist Daphne Barak, Sarah Ferguson claims it's taking its toll on her ex-husband.
We were told by her his mental state has been in question for a while. She explained that's why she's with him, that's why she attends meetings, that she's there. I don't know to what extent.
With so much scandal, will this latest episode bring about the end for Prince Andrew?
But if he was to be arrested as a result of further revelations, and he was to be put on trial, you're talking about a situation you've never seen in Britain before, and it's impossible to know what would happen.
What I think Andrew is reminding everyone of, and Fergie, sometimes in life, it doesn't matter how much money you've got, eventually your behaviour will catch up with you.
Such a fraud.